Hi. As we speak today, it could be that a colleague, an associate, or maybe even a family member could be saying things about you that are not designed for your ears. Hey, I'm Trevor E.S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy, and I'll be your guide today as we examine the issue of how can I trust you when. So the inspiration for this came from a friend, close friend, who told me that a colleague came and said, "Hey, I, we agreed that we would be open with each other, and so I want to raise this issue with you." And so the person proceeded as if, well, we're just talking one on one here. Well, my friend knew that this discussion had taken place elsewhere. So, how can I trust this individual? When to my face, he's saying, we're talking one on one here, but I know that she has been talking behind my back. Mm. So, that's what we want to look at today is this question, you know, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at the context. So I'm going to share the context. I've given you some background leading to it already, but then we want to also look at now why. Why do people talk behind our backs? And then we want to look at some solutions. How can we fix this situation? And I have a few action points that will help us to reduce this trust breaking issue of talking behind people's back. All right. So let's look at the context. I've given you an opening that there are situations where to our faces, individuals say one thing, but they may have another version or additional things to share that they share with others. And so we know that open, transparent communication is not always available in some environments. Some environments are agreed more toxic than others. But this idea of being able to share honest feedback openly is not always observed. And so people freely share uncomplimentary views about us behind our backs. And frankly, those um, comments are not necessarily designed to build us up and to help us with our growth. Mm. So I don't know if you can identify with any of what I'm sharing here today. Um, or maybe you are just blessed to be in a high trust environment. So we know that trust is um, essential for healthy team dynamics. We also know that many of us still, despite the fact that we know that trust is important for us to maximize the outcome and to have a good healthy and operating environment, we still step out and do things that could breach the trust, like speaking behind the backs of our colleagues. So why do we risk breaching the trust when we know that it has this level of negative impact? Why is it? Let's examine some of that. I think the first reason, or one reason, why we talk behind the backs of others, or why people do it. So let us not say we then. Why people talk behind our backs is that they feel they can get away with it. They feel they can get away with it. So I go to my close friend and I say, hey, this is what's happening to Jackie or John or Joe. And of course, my friend knows that this is confidential. My friend knows that this is not something that you go back and tell Jackie that I told you about her. And so we feel comfortable. We feel comfortable. As a matter of fact, what happens then is that if there's an instance in which I tell my friend something about a Jackie and um, she goes back or he goes back and tells Jackie, then that is the last time that friend gets any of my nice, juicy bits of information because that friend is no longer trustworthy. However, as it says here, spoiler alert, in high trust environments, individuals are alerted. So when you come to me in a high trust environment and you tell me something about Susie, I am going to let you know that that's not how we operate here. You need to go and talk to Susie directly. Failing that, I'm going to report to Susie what you have said to me. So before you continue, let us understand the parameters. Either you go to Susie directly, or if you continue to share with me, I'm going to let Susie know what I heard and who I heard it from. Is that clear? So that's the first one. We just don't feel we can get caught because not all of us operate in high trust environments. A lot of people operate in toxic environments, in which case it is okay to share information on complementary information behind the backs of others. So the other one would be our socialization. To be truthful, to be honest, we have a sense that it is not okay to hurt feelings of others. So we're sensitive to hurting others. Yeah, most of us anyway. And so we feel the need then to refrain from saying things that might hurt their feelings. So that's part of the overriding things. We're not so comfortable sharing. Um, and so that might actually be at the root of some degree of dissimulation, where, well, to be more accurate, what it is that we actually choose to live a lie rather than risk conflict. So we will smile and we will say things and we will avoid addressing an issue that is really a problem for us because we are afraid that it might hurt the person's feeling and we don't want to get into conflict. I wrote an article, maybe you could find it in cyberspace, that speaks of why is it so hard to tell the truth? With a sneezing fit. So my season has just opened. um, this is the season for sneezing. So anyway, so our socialization then actually could um, guide us in a path towards um, not being upfront, you know. But the socialization also invites us to share. So if we have something important, information that's hot for us, there is a tendency for us to want to download it, share it with somebody. And so there comes the problem where we feel, oh, we don't want to hurt, we don't want to be insensitive, we don't want to. risk hurting or causing a conflict. But at the same time, this information is too much for me to hold. And so that's part of the underpinning of why we talk behind people's backs. Maybe I'm wrong, but those are some of my ideas as to what's going on there. And then just generally, I call this mischief because it covers over a ton of behavioral sins. It could just be, I'm jealous of this individual. I just don't like them because of their gender, their race, the fact that they got a promotion and I didn't get. Um, how could they be so successful when they're so young? Oh, please, old people, you know, shouldn't be, holding on to this. But any kind of thing could be um, a reason for us to start to say uncomplimentary things behind people's backs. And as I say, what is being shared is not designed to put the individual in a good light. But key, and we can see it in social media, we can see it in this fake news, is that negative comments seem to have bad news, seem to travel faster and and get far greater attention. And so we don't look to say, here is something wonderful about Trevor, let me share it. Yeah, but if something goes wrong, there's a flaw, there's a downside to what's happening with him, then yeah, sure, let's share it. And of course, we have ready listeners for the bad news, not necessarily for the healthy, uplifting information. So those are some of the reasons. But let us look at solutions because that's what we like to do in these live casts is to look at issues and to see how we can address them, make life better. That's what it is. Improve how we navigate through life. That's my goal. So one of the things is to break the cycle. Just understand one thing by the way, that those lips, that tongue that is coming to tell you something about Trevor is not long, or maybe it's just coming from saying something about you, saying something about you. So understand that when you participate in this, you might very well be in the mix as well. So my suggestion is break the cycle. Direct them to give feedback to the ears that should be hearing what it is that they have to share. If it is something uplifting, if it's something positive, then go and talk to the person. Or if it will be helpful, it could be that there is a gap, there is um, some performance gap, or there is some flaw. Go and talk to the individual so that it can help them. And so what we're saying is reduce the outlet for negative news carrying. That's where it is. And support then the concept of sharing constructive developmental feedback that is presented to the target individual. That's what we should be looking at. How can we promote the idea that giving and receiving constructive developmental feedback is healthy for the individual and for the organization, and encourage that? That's the first step. The other one would be some coaching. Some people might have been in a toxic environment for a long time where it is the norm to share information. And we are suggesting then that you could actually set up sessions where we discuss it, have the team meet, and so on. I'm actually, and I need to put a disclosure here that yes, we are involved in doing that kind of work with teams. And I'm just saying that there's great value in having someone from outside, yes, facilitate a session during which the team goes through issues like this. They hear the issues, they look at the challenges, and look at strategies then for moving the process forward. And it works. It works. I'm going to give you a deeper version of that. But the whole idea is that don't just assume that people know that they are not supposed to speak. Well, they know, but that how can we discourage them then from cheering behind the back? That's a task, and it is useful then to have direct sessions dealing with it. The other thing is, of course, to be the example. Be the example of what, though? I'm suggesting that if more of us made ourselves available for receiving feedback, then people might feel more comfortable coming to us. What happens is that sometimes we are so sensitive that people know that we will not accept any kind of constructive feedback or any kind of feedback at all. And so that's where the challenge is. If we can be the example of someone who's open, come. As a matter of fact, not only will I accept it, but I'm seeking it. I'm actively seeking. So, for example, I want to model this now. I would say, please send me an email to say what you found with respect to this live cast. How can I improve it? What went wrong? What could be improved? That's what we're saying. If you set up yourself to invite and respond positively to information that's coming back about you, it's going to help and it's going to create an environment in which people don't have to go behind your back. Why do I have to go behind his back when I can talk to him and he will welcome it? He will embrace the idea and he will actually even act on it. That's what we want to look at. So that is the third um, solution to this, is to be the example where honest, open feedback is welcome. I can then trust you because I know that what you're saying to me to my face is basically what it is that you have to say about me. I don't have to have the whispers round the back to say, hey, by the way, so and so is talking about you behind your back. That can be wiped out. Right? So the fact that you can come and talk to me openly, honestly, and we just, accept that dialogue without any animosity, without any other pushback, that then builds trust. But there is more. There is more. Um, and one of the reasons why people talk behind people's back and are not so sure that they can actually openly present feedback is that there is a trust gap. We're not so sure yet whether we can trust this individual or not. And so building trust is important in this to deal with this issue. And so the better we understand, like we can see it. We just meet somebody, and so we are tentative. We kind of feel each other out. After a while, when we really get to know the individual well, we can say, hey, you know, give you some feedback here, give you some feedback there. And it works. So it is a question then as to how quickly can we help the process of accelerate the process then where people understand each other better. And my suggestion that works very well is to have the team complete their behavioral DNA analysis. So I have my personal analysis, you have your personal behavioral analysis, and then we come together as a team and we put up our team maps, and you can see your preferred behavioral style, you can see mine, and then we have the now I understand why. And so that is why those kinds of understandings come from that process. And so people better understand how to communicate with each other. Ah, so that's why Trevor speaks like this, because his natural behavioral style is dominance, or that's why Trevor doesn't um, come forward and because that's his behavioral style. He prefers to wait to be invited as against jumping forward. That's why Trevor asks so many questions. We can see from the behavioral assessment, we can see from the map what is it that we need to do in order to be able to communicate more effectively with each other? Makes a huge difference to the trust deficit. And also then precludes or certainly reduces the need for there to be um, a significant level then of, well, any talking behind the back, actually. All right. So, how do we do this? There's we have a three-step process really of increasing understanding. And by the way, the exercise helps you to understand yourself. So we have to understand ourselves better before we can understand others. So it's a two-way process. So it's essentially what happens is that there's a email that goes out to the link. The team members take 7 to 10 minutes complete the extended behavioral DNA questionnaire, and then we create at the back, individual and team reports. And then we have the fancy session that I talked about, where, online, we get together on Zoom, and we talk. We discuss the issues, debriefing what does it mean, what does your behavioral style need, or what does mine need, how do we communicate better then from where we are, and we then have practical steps towards creating a transparent, high trust environment so people understand themselves better. They're not imagining things based on how communication takes place. I'm just suggesting that if we want to address this issue, a solid way to get across is to build trust. And one of the best ways to build trust is to have people understand the behavioral preferences of each other. Let's have an exploratory conversation. Here we go. So we can go to meetings.hubspot.com/Trevor-Smith4. Meetings.hubspot.com // Trevor Smith 4, or just send us an email at info@successwithpeople.org, and we'll move the process forward. This issue of low trust, toxic environments impacts performance in very meaningful ways. And I'm just suggesting that we can, in fact, enhance performance and enhance the operating environment. The whole culture can be changed by some concrete strategic steps. And by the way, um, I'm saying we could work, and I'm prepared to say to you, let's work as a team. You pay nothing up front. As a matter of fact, you don't ever pay if you don't get value. So you come into the process, we work with your team, do the coaching, and if you get value, then you invest 3,900 in the process of unlocking the limiting factors, identifying the blind spots, finding out where the communication hitches are. We could increase trust then, and that would increase productivity, employee engagement, and of course, help to retain some of your talent. So that's an offer. Send us an email, info@successwithpeople.org. No risk. We go in, we do the assessment, and by the way, you keep the assessment if you don't get any value. So that's on us. A little bit about us. We try to keep these sessions relatively short so that people don't have a, you know, question when we're inviting them to come. So we're engaged in technology-driven human capacity development. In essence, we work to enhance the performance, the productivity of individuals, their teams, and their organizations. And so we have strong technology platforms like our Spike performance management and governance solution that drives everything. It actually has a competency framework built in where you can actually have it operate as the hub for everything from recruitment and selection through onboarding, through training and development, through succession planning, through performance management and appraisal. So that's something that we would like to have a conversation about. But of course, you could see from this that we are also um, franchise owners of extended discount things, and so we help the teams to our organizations to select better so that we avoid bad hires with our behavioral assessments. That basically is what we wanted to share today, but I just want to go and to reinforce then that one way to break the cycle is to um, be refuse to be a part, to refuse to be an outlet for the uncomplimentary comments that have been shopped around. Bear in mind that you are also a target. All right. So invite the person to go to the source. Right? Go to the person who needs to hear it. The other one would be to coach, help people, and have these sessions. Have a discount, this sit down where we say, okay, fine. This happens. Does it need to happen? Is this healthy? Is this damaging? Right? Those are some of the discussions that we need to have, and what can we do about it? Then, of course, be an example of someone who invites, who desperately needs feedback, who wants it and who acts on it and who welcomes it. Be that example. In which case, oh, really and truly, somebody would really have to be out of it to still want to go behind your back to talk about it. When you are saying, why not just tell me up front? I'm open, I'm willing, I'm here for you. Right? And then, of course, we suggest a process then of helping your team members to understand themselves, first of all, and then to understand others. Because once there is an increase in understanding, once people get to understand each other better, they feel more comfortable sharing information, whether it is um, feedback to help for developmental purposes or otherwise. People feel more comfortable. We don't have to parse things and be so concerned about how to say this because we understand how to communicate with our colleagues. And I'm suggesting that the best way is to have behavioral assessments done. We recommend, of course, extended solutions, but if you have some other tool that you use, then use them and then have the discourse around the findings. What is my preferred behavioral style? What is yours? How do we communicate better? That is something that skillful facilitators will help. So we know that when Trevor D presents information in a particular way, this is how you should receive it because that's the intention. Forget the body language, maybe, and forget the thing that it might be a little bit overpowered. That's not the intention. Let us look to the content. So, those are some of the things that we have to do, that we understand how to get best results from each other, how to give instructions to different behavioral styles, how do we give feedback to different behavioral styles, and how do we just communicate to different behavioral styles. That's critical. And then when we look at the team maps, we also learn a lot about um, the individuals and what is involved. What is their role? How are they responding to their roles? And how can we then evolve into a high trust, high performing environment? Thank you for your time. And remember, send me some feedback. I would love to hear how these things are landing with you. Appreciate it. And pick up our offer. Pay nothing upfront and only if you get value. I'm Trevor E. S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy. And thank you very much for your time.